Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome to the physioBRAIN channel. This is Professor Adriano, and today we're going to give you tips on how to improve your reading and make the most of your reading time. Stay with me and don't miss these tips. And you already know, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe, like the video, and share with anyone you think needs this information. So everyone, we're going to talk about how to improve and make the most of your reading time. We know that it's very important for us to have the habit of reading, to keep our brains active, right? To always keep our cognitive abilities being pushed to the limit, okay? And reading is an essential part of this process. I really enjoy reading. I read several books each month. I have the habit of reading a lot, and I always recommend that people do the same. And especially on Instagram, people ask me, they send me some questions about how to improve, why they have trouble reading, why they have difficulty finishing a book. They start reading one and then stop and can't finish, or they read but can't remember what they've read. So I decided to create this video, to make this video so that we can share some tips to optimize so that you can make the most of your time, all right? The first tip is choose a book that you are interested in reading, a book that you will have interest and motivation to start and finish. There's no point in trying to start by reading an extremely philosophical, deep, a big book. If you have no interest in that area, you won't feel motivated. It's already hard to build a habit, and then you make it even harder by putting up an obstacle, by choosing something that's going to be a barrier for you to develop this habit. So choose a book that's easy for you to read by an author you know or on a topic you like. If you like sports, start by reading a book about sports. If you like health, pick a book on a topic you want to learn more about. If you know an author, have already read a book by them and liked it, choose another book by that author, because chances are you'll be able to start and finish the reading since it's something that interests you. So the first tip is choose a book that you will feel like reading, that you have the determination and motivation to start and finish. Second tip, and this applies to any reading you're doing, try not to read after big meals. So after lunch, after dinner, after a meal where you ate a lot, try not to read at that moment, try to read before those meals. Why? Because your blood flow, right? Your body will be working to digest and you'll need a lot of energy to do that. And if you try to do that after eating, try to do that, right? Try to read after eating, it will be harder. And naturally, we get sleepier because of all these physiological adjustments that happen in our body during digestion. So try not to read after a meal. Try to read before you have a big meal. Another tip, read while sitting. Don't try to read a book. Don't try to build a reading habit by reading lying down in bed. Don't try to read lying on the couch, because you'll tend to get sleepy, and many times you might even fall asleep depending on the time of day, right? Sometimes you'll start reading and by the second page you'll already be sleepy, you won't be absorbing anything, and you'll just feel drowsy, so you'll probably end up falling asleep. So try to read while sitting. Make it a habit to sit in a chair, whether it's at a table, on a porch, in the middle of the living room, in your bedroom, wherever you study, but try to read sitting down. And many times I've tried reading lying down and I was really sleepy, so I started reading sitting up, and I was still sleepy, so I started reading standing up. You know, it might sound crazy, but it actually works. You'll feel less sleepy and you'll activate your body, activate your brain to be more alert, to be more focused, and that will get you better results. You'll be able to read more and you'll be able to absorb more of what you're reading. So the tip is read while sitting. Another very important tip, read in a well-lit place, right? As we've already mentioned, don't read lying down. If you read lying down with dim lighting, you'll definitely end up falling asleep. So read with good lighting, whether it's sunlight or a white light, a light that a place that is well lit. This will help you stay more focused, be able to read, and further develop the habit of reading. So read in a well-lit place. Next, neuroscience tip. To improve your reading, Avoid distractions. Put your phone aside. Put your phone on silent. Don't keep your phone in the room. Don't keep your phone nearby so you're not tempted to use it or to use the computer. And I say this for any kind of distraction, the phone is the main one these days. But if you need to read, if you want to read and want to build this habit, close your bedroom door, stay in a room where there's no one else, try to focus on your reading, eliminate distractions. Studies show that this makes our reading process easier and better. Okay? Next tip, take notes, highlight important parts. I know that, yeah, it's really nice to have a book you can lend out later, that you can reread, that you can give to someone. In short, one that isn't marked up. But if you really want to learn, if you want to optimize your learning, have a book that you can write notes in, do it in pencil so you can erase them later on if needed after some time. But if you can highlight, make notes, jot down an insight you had at that moment, an idea that came to you, something that you connect with another topic, with something else you're reading, with your work, with your studies, in short, then when you open the book again, you'll see that note, you'll see that highlight, and that will, come back to your memory. It will resurface, right? It will keep echoing what you wrote down, what you highlighted, and this might help you save time or spark an idea, something you can act on from then on. So this can be something that, saves you time down the road, but it will definitely help you retain more. Because every time you glance at that page, you'll see something that was highlighted and that probably made sense to you. So highlight, make notes, because that will help improve your reading. Another tip, this one isn't always possible because if you're reading in a public place, it might not be very appropriate. But if you're at home, alone, and you're able to read out loud, so as you read, say what you're reading, read it out loud. There are several studies that show that when we read out loud, our brain retains more information, it memorizes, it records more of what we read because we end up verbalizing it, and that becomes, one of the ways our brain uses to store what was read. When we speak, when we verbalize, we are stimulating other areas, other regions of the brain, other structures that are being engaged, and this optimizes our learning from reading. So read out loud if possible. And studies show that when you read, understand, and explain it to someone else, the learning is retained much more. Our brain absorbs more, and this becomes a more permanent form of learning. Yes, there are different ways for us to learn, and when we teach, it is one of the main ways for us to retain what we have learned. So a teacher usually knows a lot because they learned, and now they have to teach. So when you teach, it's very likely that you really know what you're talking about. So the tip is discuss or explain to someone what you have read. So if you have the habit of reading a chapter a day, afterwards talk to someone about that chapter or record a video of yourself talking about it. I do this, I record videos about the chapter of the book I read or about the summary of a book I read so that I can listen to myself speaking from time to time, or so that I can, test my argumentation regarding that topic, so that this becomes a more permanent learning, a learning that is more deeply rooted in my brain connections. So talk to someone, explain to someone what you have read. It's one of the ways you can optimize your reading and improve your learning. And if you've done all that, if you didn't eat right after lunch, if you read in a well-lit place, read somewhere with few distractions, if you read out loud, if you manage to do everything we talked about, manage to talk to someone and explain it, and it's still fresh in your memory tree, reading that book, that chapter again in a few days, within a week, 10 days, 20 days at most, because then your learning and retention of what you read will be even greater. So if you want to keep learning more and more and retain more and more of what you read, follow these tips we've given you. These are good tips that can help you improve your reading and enhance your learning. And of course, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But if you've read 1, 2, 3 chapters or 20, 30 pages of a book and it doesn't interest you, you didn't like the author's approach, you didn't like the subject matter, or the book disappointed you, move on to another one. there's no reason for you to keep reading something you don't like, right? Of course, sometimes we can filter out some useful things from material that might not be that great, but if you think that reading has no future, just set that book aside and move on to another one. I've done this a few times myself. I started reading, gave the book a chance, read and read, got to page 50 or 60, and then thought, no, I can't go on. Maybe it goes against something I believe in, or it's just really different, or it's very outdated, or it's just not good. So I simply set the book aside. I'm not going to go around bad-mouthing the author or saying the book is terrible. I just didn't like that particular read. It didn't captivate me, so I move on. I pick another book and start reading again. So don't judge a book by its cover, but if a book doesn't motivate you, especially when you're just starting to build the habit of reading, just set it aside and move on to another one. Sometimes a book isn't what you expected, and you can easily move on to another one and keep reading with enjoyment, with enthusiasm, with motivation. That way it'll be easier for you to keep reading what you actually like. All right, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video and found the tips helpful. Leave a comment below if anything I said makes sense to you, if you already knew about it, if you didn't, or if you liked it. If you have any questions, feel free to write them there. I'll reply whenever possible. Like the video if you haven't already, or share it with that friend you think needs to know these tips, this information. Take care, and I'll see you in the next videos.